Hello everyone, it is currently February 5th and the January recap for 2019 was released yesterday. So we're going to go through and talk about what OWI is doing and exactly what we can expect in the near future. So we're going to go through here and talk about everything coming out. Once again, this is not necessarily a update or a pre-patch kind of list or changelog. This is just the things that OWI is currently working on. So no idea when we'll see these things, hopefully soon. But yeah, I'd like to see another update for Squad, somewhere in the near future. Pretty much because I feel like it's been a while. I feel like it's been a long time. So can't wait to see more stuff in Squad. Anyways, the first thing off the bat here is they're updating to the new Unreal Engine 4.21. So every time they've ever done an engine update, like a ton of stuff breaks. So I can imagine the time from V12 to V13 is going to be a little rough. I can imagine they've been working on it for a while now, but I would imagine they still have to work out quite a few kinks. So it's still going to be a little ways away. I wouldn't expect to see an update anytime within the month, maybe next month at the earliest. But we'll see how fast they're able to work out this engine update, because every time they engine update stuff, a lot of stuff breaks. But yeah, let's go through here. So a lot of bugs and tools and bug fixes, which will lead to the improved quality of Squad overall. Very good to see. In fact, the Alpha 13 test last week was the first version we played. I hear that they canceled the test, but they did attempt to start the test. I know they had a lot of previewed stuff in there that wasn't supposed to be in there. They had the T-62, they had the Scorpion, they had the Commander class, they had the new map, Fallujah, they had, what else? What are some other things? I think those were some things that were leaked in V13 when they tried to release it, or tried to test it a couple weeks back. I'm not actually sure how those tests went, but the fact that they haven't pushed a public playtest yet for like everyone means that it's gonna be just a little bit here, because they'd be testing it more with the public if it was closer to release. So still waiting on them to finish all that stuff up. Ammunition rearm improvements. So right now in Squad, when you want to rearm a weapon, what you have to do is you have to rearm your entire inventory. You can't just go and get one magazine back or two magazine backs or one lat round. You have to rearm, everything you're missing in the inventory and get the full cost from the fob. Whereas now with this ammunition rearm improvement, you can individually click what you want. Now, this is very helpful for lats in particular, because most of the time when you're playing infantry, you want to grab everything. You just want to refill on everything. But the issue with lats is that it's so expensive to rearm your lat that sometimes the ammo bag that's down has like 77 points and you need 100 to rearm your full kit, whereas like a rocket would only be 50. So now the lats will have an easier time. The lat kit and the sapper kits and the scout kits will have an easier time rearming those special kinds of ordnance that are missing from their kit or that they've spent already. So this is very helpful. A small quality of life to those special kits. But as far as like general riflemen and everyone else, I don't think you'll see too much of a change. I think you'll see the majority of people just picking everything up when they can. But it's cool to see that they're working on this. Having seen the live day in Alpha 13, so this wasn't the test the other week. So this is, once again, mainly for those special kits, the lats, the sappers, the scouts, all stuff like that. Track and wheel damage. Now, this is pretty big. So as you can see on the vehicle now, you can actually damage components on the tank. You can actually already damage the engine, I believe, and the turret in Squad. Postscriptum is actually uploading a whole bunch more component damage models to Postscriptum. I'll leave a link on the top right of your screen right now if you haven't seen Postscriptum's most recent Vego update, which comes with a lot of changes, including component damage for armor. But it's coming to Squad now. You can actually visually see when a tank is tracked. Beautiful animation and model right here. Like, it's great. Great stuff. But yeah, that's coming to Squad. Then you're also having mobility kills here. Obviously, damaging the engine and tracking it by hitting it with a mine. You can see that it drives over a mine, and instead of blowing up the vehicle, it's going to blow out the track. This is a really cool animation right here. I think that's fabulous. And you can see it spin out, like how the physics are affected by losing that traction on your left track. Your right wheel just spins you out. So very realistic and very cool to see it in game. The effects, once again, looking beautiful as always. But yeah, so hopefully we see a lot more That's one thing that I really didn't like about the mines, as far as like the MRAPs and a couple of the other lighter vehicles, is that they would insta kill you in the vehicles. I would kind of like to see, for gameplay purposes, MRAPs only get mobility killed from vehicles, but we'll see how that, or from mines, excuse me. But we'll see how they balance and, you know, mess with the damage model on all these things. But otherwise, very cool stuff to see. Now, we have the T-62 that was leaked for the insurgents and the militia. We have the T-72 for the Russians. We have the Abrams for the Americans. Now, the Brits are getting their Charlie 2 soon. You can see the Charlie 2 has all been modeled. It's one of the strongest tanks around. I think there's only one ever been lost due to friendly fire. It's never been lost to an enemy tank. But really cool stuff, seeing the Charlie 2 get modeled here. Once again, brilliant detail here, and I'm sure they'll give it some character just like the other vehicles in game. I really like that last vehicle update in V12, where they kind of like added the camo mesh. They added, you know, barbed wire onto the sides. They added backpacks. They gave the vehicles a lot more character by adding these small details, and I think details are everything. You've heard me rant about, you know, small details in maps and how they can go a long way. I think details all around and attention to detail is very important to, you know, giving players an immersed and lifelike experience in these shooters. So I think that's really cool. T-62, as you can see here down below, for the insurgents, and I'm pretty sure what goes to the insurgents goes to the militia as well. I think this is the militia skin and this is the insurgent skin, but cool stuff to see. We can pull this up right here. The T-62, I believe, has a 115 millimeter barrel. It ejects that shell casing out the top. That's a really cool animation, actually. After it fires its round, just tosses the round out. So that's awesome. Once again, that attention to detail is amazing. And then, of course, the Russians are now getting their BMPs to challenge the strikers more efficiently now, since the strikers are really strong versus the BTRs. But yeah, the BMP will go up against the strikers and the Bradleys now. So, you know, Russia kind of gets that IFV vehicle that is the counterpart to the US Bradley. So a lot more help here punching through the US armor. But yeah, they're going to have, I think, 2 variants. They have this BMP. I think it was leaked somewhere. There was either a BMP or something with a toe on it. I don't know. Forget. If I can remember and find that post, I'll post it on the channel. Or I think someone found like a toe on a BMP or something like that. Or a Cornet. I think it was a Cornet. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I can dig that up later. But yeah, really cool. It's going to be rocking that 30 millimeter, of course, with a faster fire rate than on the BTR 82A. So it's going to have a faster rate of fire. We know right now that the BTR 82A in squad has that burst kind of fire rate, which is, I'm assuming this is going to be, you know, pretty much full auto. So that'll be cool to see in game, and we'll actually be able to challenge some of the US armored vehicles. US versus UAV. Now, I know everyone's about to comment down below with your COD memes, right? But I think this is a interesting idea. For the commander. So the commander will call in the UAV. For those of you that don't know, Postscriptum and Squad will have or already have commander roles, and in Postscriptum, the commander can actually call in air support, call in artillery. He can do a whole bunch of stuff like that, smoke arty, mortars and stuff, airstrikes, bombing runs, and I think that's going to be coming to Squad, and I would like to see, you know, bombing runs, A-10 gun runs. I'd like to see off-map arty, like real arty, whether it's like naval arty or artery, naval arty, or like you know, 150 millimeter guns or something crazy like that. That would be awesome to see, like some really heavy duty arty, because everyone knows I love indirect. It's been a while since I played with the mortars and the arty techie, but I would love to see some heavy duty arty in game. But yeah, the UAV for Squad is pretty much going to be a commander cam, and I think this is a pretty good idea. Like, it's kind of realistic. You know, we have the technology nowadays to fly around and see things. It's not overpowered. It's not like in Call of Duty where you can ping everyone on the map, but it gives the commander a way to see things on the battlefield without putting himself in danger. And this is something that I notice in Postscriptum a lot. Is that in Postscriptum, the commander is usually at main, sitting at main, just looking at the minimap, calling things in, or he's up in the field with the troops and he's fighting and dying with them, and it can get very frustrating. I think a UAV is a really good medium to where he can get close to the action. He can see what he wants to see. He's not in danger, but he doesn't necessarily have the ability to go where he wants to go at all times like you would if you were up there with the infantry. But I think this is still very, very, very interesting feature. The ability to zoom, the ability to target track and put markers in with the cam. I think that's going to be interesting to balance because you'll be able to fly this thing, you know, everywhere. But I'm not sure how you're going to be able to shoot it down. I don't know if they're adding in any AA or if you can shoot it down with small arms, or how you're going to be able to hit the UAV and counter the UAV, because I think if it's invulnerable, it's going to be a little bit weird, but I doubt they'd make it invulnerable. And this is kind of like the first air asset we're going to see in Squad, so hopefully helicopters are right around the corner, right? Because we have the first air asset with the UAVs, or I don't know, maybe helicopters will come out before the UAVs. I guess we'll wait and see. But I think this is a real cool feature for commanders to actually get their eyes on the battlefield and call in proper assets and command their platoons effectively. Fallujah, getting close to being finished. Now, I've got mixed feelings about Fallujah. On one hand, it's a very iconic map. It's got some real world history and significance, and a lot of, you know, veterans or you know, military history buffs are gonna love having Fallujah in game, and I think that it's gonna be a very immersive map. But on a gameplay perspective, I really fucking hate all the maps with like a ton of windows, like Narva, Al-Basra. Those two maps are just like, I can boil it down to one sentence. The games on those maps are just getting shot from windows. From the endless amount of every building that you can get into, all those endless amounts of windows, it's just, it's cool that you can get into every building, but I think from a gameplay standpoint, it just turns into a massive hide-and-go-seek game. So I don't know how they're going to address that, whether it's like an effective way to get people out of buildings by using off-map arty, or you know, satchel charges or something, or, you know, AoE damage through walls. They need some way of clearing out buildings effectively before, you know, everyone just sits in their individual balcony and just starts shooting at people, because that's it doesn't work for immersion, because in real world you would just blow the fucking building up, or throw an HE round into the building. But in Squad, that damage doesn't pass through walls. The only damage in Squad that passes through walls is the IED. So unless they expand that to more damage models, I feel like getting people out of all these buildings is just gonna be a nightmare. I hate the how the buildings work in Squad, and how you have to just push through it to clear it, because you would just drop some HE in there and blow a hole in the building. But we don't have destructibility, so they got to find a way to work around it. So hopefully we see a good way to get enemies out of these buildings. Not an overpowered way, but a decent solution to at least keeping some of these buildings clear. But other than that, aside from that potential issue with all the windows and rooms and doors and stairways, I think it's a beautiful map. I see they're adding a lot more micro-terrain than their other maps. You know, like Narva doesn't have really any micro-terrain when you think about it. There's a couple cars on the street, a couple of, you know, bus stops and stuff like that. But you can see the difference here with the rubble and the, you know, these cracks. Like a war-torn city, I feel like a war-torn city, or a city that has ruins versus a normal, like, clean, fresh, like virgin city is much better for gameplay, because all those ruins add dynamic gameplay. It's not just like a flat open street. It's not just a clear open balcony. You have rubble that you can take cover behind. You have interesting buildings to work with that aren't, you know, their normal design because they've been blown up. I think that maps like Narva, if there was ever a bombed out Narva map, I would fall in love with it. Like if it was just completely in ruins, you know, some of the high rises had holes in them and chunks that you could look out or breach through. The roads were filled with rubble and burning vehicles and stuff like that. It doesn't need to be like post-apocalyptic, but something like this, where it's just subtle enough to where it's like, yeah, you're kind of in a war and there's a lot of cover, because I think it's great for gameplay. Microterrain is absolutely one of the best things for gameplay. So definitely happy to see that in this map. Now, Scorpio. Scorpio is once again, I have two kind of perspectives on Scorpio. For those of you that don't know, Scorpio has been around for a while. It was a mod map, and now it looks like they're trying to implement it into the game. So on one hand, Scorpio does a really, really good job of creating a beautiful, lifelike landscape that has rolling hills and just it encourages large engagement distances. Just the gentle sloping of the hills over large distances allow individuals to see each other from a long ways away, and and engage each other, which leads to very unique firefights, because most of the firefights in squad, I feel like, unless you're playing on maybe Kohat or Mestia, most of them are within 300 meters, within 200 meters. A lot of the engagements are CQB almost. You know, in the buildings in Al-Basra and Narva, in Logar and Sumari, a lot of these engagement ranges are within 300. But in Scorpio, you have the potential to have long engagement ranges at, 300, maybe up to 500, just like you would in Messia or Kohat. And I think those maps really give a unique kind of gameplay to squad, because you're not in each other's face. You have a lot of movement, a lot of tactics, a lot of strategy, instead of just turning into a team deathmatch. So I really like the idea of Scorpio. That's the on one hand. On the other hand, if you look around on Scorpio, there's not too much microterrain. It's really smooth. It's a virgin battlefield. There are a couple assets here on the map that keep it from being completely smooth. You got a couple rock walls, you've got some hay bales and stuff like that. But yeah, all I see is a lot of trees, and I hate trees. I hate trees so much in squad, because there's so many times in squad where you'll be in a forest, and all you have is this one vertical tree in front of you that you gotta scoot behind, and it's 1 meter wide, and that's all the cover you got around for like 200 meters. Like, I understand it's a forest, but forests have like little, ditches in the terrain, little bumps where you can get down. They have rocks there. You have all kinds of stuff, more foliage. You have knock down trees, you have a whole bunch of stuff, but like, it's just incredibly flat. It's unnaturally flat. But yeah, I'm hoping that they can do something like Kamdesh. Kamdesh is a great example of a rather flat macro terrain, but it's got a lot of micro terrain. You have a lot of knocked over rocks. You have a lot of tree logs. You have a lot of stuff on Kamdesh that I think could be ported over to Scorpio to provide a better gameplay experience. The only issue I think they'd have there is performance, because Scorpio is really large. There's already a lot of assets on the map, and I think adding all these things might damage performance. But we'll see if they end up doing that. However, these trenches and stuff, once again, fantastically done. I love trenches in squad, in postscriptum. The airfield on Yehorivka is amazing, because it's a great example of how on Yehorivka, the airfield before was completely flat. It's just an airstrip that's laser flat, and fighting on it and trying to get across it and try to maneuver on it or take it, it was so boring for gameplay, because it's like you're running in the open, you get shot. But you can see how they add the micro terrain, the trench lines, and the cover to the macro terrain of the airfield, and it completely changes gameplay. There's now possible ways you can get across the airfield. It adds great gameplay, because fighting on the airfield is now much more engaging, instead of just, I'm trying to just run across this open field. So that's a great example of micro terrain versus macro terrain, and how adding micro terrain can really improve an environment. Because yeah, the airfield was just so flat before, and now it's not. It's not like huge hills in the airfield. You don't have like these huge giant things blocking the airfield, but you have these little tiny micro features and details that give you so much to the gameplay for firefights and maneuvering and tactics when you're engaging in that area. So I think it's going to be great. And then once, of course, there is a squad chat with Drav, which is one of the lead producers over at OWI, and Gatsby, the community manager. So great people. If you want to watch this, go ahead and check it out. Once again, I'll leave this recap link in the description down below, so check that out. All the other links are down there as well. And as you can see, look at that A10. That's probably going to come in with the commander update. The A10 actually was in game, I want to say, in V9. Back in V9, I think it was V9. V9 or somewhere around V9, they had an A10 call-in, and it was used for special events, but they had strafing runs, they had bombing runs from A10s. So now I think they're finally hooking it up for commander role, and I think it's going to be completely awesome to see that A10 roll in and fuck shit up, because it's already awesome to see an Insurgency Sandstorm when you call in an A10 in that game, and I think seeing it in squad is going to be just as awesome, if not even cooler. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff. So that was today's recap. A lot of cool stuff coming soon. I would like to see, I've given you my opinions on some of these things we've seen here today. New tanks, new maps, new engine update, which I hope they improve the performance, because I know a lot of you guys are having trouble on some systems. But other than that, some great stuff. Once again, I'll leave that link in the description if you want to go through it yourself and watch some of the videos or GIFs and stuff. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you did enjoy today's video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell button for future content. And once again, a special thanks to all my Patreon supporters and channel members. Links to those down below. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you all in the next one.